Download links to the files created in this video are in the description. This is the first of a series of videos on how to create a Celtic Triskelion. In the first video, I'll create a Celtic Triskelion using the Create Spirals tool. In the next video, I'll create the spirals using circles and ellipses. And in the last video, I'll make Triskelion-like shapes with 4 and 5 arms. With that said, let's get started. Let's set up the document, go to File, Document Properties, set the display units to pixels, uncheck Show Page Border, and close Document Properties. Let's come to Create Spirals, or keyboard shortcut letter I. Make the number of turns 2.0. Set the divergence to 1.0. And set the inner radius to 0.2. With those spiral properties, let's come over to the canvas. Press and hold the Control key. Click and drag downwards to create your spiral. And snap the angle at 90 degrees. The angle should show at the bottom of your screen. Once you've created your spiral, let's come over to Object, Fill and Stroke. Set the fill to none, stroke paint to flat color, and under the stroke style, set the units to pixels and set the width to 15 pixels. Let's come over to the Select and Transform tool. Make sure the proportional scaling padlock is locked and disable the proportional scaling for stroke width setting. Next, let's set the height of the spiral to 115 pixels. Hover over the spiral, press Ctrl and roll the mouse button up to zoom in, and we'll have our spiral. Next, let's give the ends of the spiral rounded caps. So come back to Stroke Style, next to Cap, click Round Cap. Also set the opacity to 50%, and then press Ctrl D to duplicate the spiral. The spiral will become slightly darker, which means that there's 2 spirals now. Click and drag the second spiral to the side. Then click it a second time to show the rotation handles, which are these curved arrows at the corners. Hover over one of the rotation handles, click and drag it to rotate the spiral. Press your Control key to snap it at 15-degree intervals, and we want to snap it at 120 degrees. The angle will show at the bottom of your screen. Once you get to 120 degrees, you can let go of the mouse and Control key. Then press Ctrl D to duplicate the spiral again. Let's drag that one down, and we want to rotate it in the same direction again by 120 degrees. So click and drag on the rotation handle. Press Ctrl to snap it at 120 degrees. Once we have 3 spirals, let's position them in a Triskelion-like orientation, like this. At the moment, we can't put them together because they are overlapping each other. So we'll need to create a triangle to space them out. Before we create our triangle, let's come over to Enable Snapping and enable Snap Nodes, Paths and Handles, and Snap to Cusp Nodes including rectangle corners. Once you have those 3 properties set, come over to Create Stars and Polygons. Create a regular polygon with 3 corners. Come to the canvas, click and drag and press the Control key and create a triangle with an angle of 90 degrees. Once you've created your triangle, let's come back to the stroke width and set it to 0, and set the fill to flat color. Then come to the Select and Transform tool and set the width of the triangle to 30 pixels. Once you've set the width of the triangle, let's click and drag it and snap the top right corner to the top right spiral. Come to Path, Object to Path to turn the triangle into an object. Then click and drag the second spiral to snap it onto the top left corner of the triangle. Click and drag the bottom spiral to snap it onto the bottom corner of the triangle. Next, let's click the triangle and change the fill to none and the stroke style back to 15 pixels. Let's press Ctrl and scroll down to zoom out. Then click and drag over everything to create a bounding box that selects everything. And let's bring the opacity back up to 100%. Next, let's come back to Path and set Stroke to Path. And lastly, let's go to Path and Union. And that will join all of the objects together into one object to create our Triskelion. And that's how you create a Celtic Triskelion using the Inkscape Create Spirals tool. Again, download links to this file are in the description, and you can watch the next videos for alternative methods on how to create a Celtic Triskelion. Thank you for watching.